So welcome my 352 subscribers, all of you legal men who should get pinned but sometimes it just gets too messy and forgets, to all of you who do not just hate Jeff Jarrett blindly, and for those of you who knows the difference between a mag and a clip, welcome to my review of AEW Dynamite for the March 15 show. Let's begin. But first, leave a like, comment, subscribe, whatever. So this show starts with a rebar mitzvah. So MJF comes in, accompanied by 4 women. He has the garb on, and he's strangely wrapped up in all of this, like clothes. Hat, some shades. This plays into later on in the segment. Everything that's set up has a purpose. That plays into what happens later. So I was concerned about this segment. Like after it was announced, what immediately popped into my head was what if this would turn out like any foreigner WWE segment, and it would turn that culture heel. It could lead to something that could be perceived as anti-Semitic, and it would just like get AEW in more trouble. Like especially back in the Attitude Era, or when like Vince was in control, like just about every foreign heel they brought, they always used their culture against them, and it sucked. Nation of Domination, Muhammad Hassan, even Rusev. The crowd, if not mindful enough, could get swung up in this sort of fervor, and it would be a terrible look for everyone. But thankfully, this Canadian crowd from Winnipeg did not do anything of the sort. They were respectful the entire time, even if MJF just like went to town about Judaism. They're the chosen people of God. This is the only religion that matters. And thankfully, the crowd didn't boo. The crowd just laughed. We have a pretty educated crowd. They could think for themselves. And they don't just boo because he insulted them. MJF does the obligatory Bret Hart insult in Canada, and this just like rolled off of the crowd's back. They've heard this before so many times already that it doesn't even matter. We get the cheesy I am Iron Man line. I could have done without this. It doesn't fit with everything else. It's just a bit of excess. And you're sponsored by a DC movie. As for the chair dance, he brought out about 9 people. And I don't know. In YouTube videos, like, about like less people carry the chair. But I don't know, in my head, like in movies, there's just so many people in one of these that I feel like there should have been 20. Or like just added like maybe like 1 rabbi or something. Maybe a kids choir that would sing Yerushalayim. Just have it be a bigger event. But yeah, then I remembered it's a 2-hour show and something has to follow this. So yeah, something did follow this. The 3 pillars show up and they all ask for title matches. They even do a cute thing where they say it at the same time. But I don't think everyone is warranted a title match yet. Like so far, Jungle Boy is the most in contention out of all of them. Next is like Darby since he's a former champion. And Sammy's just like so far away. He's only beaten Action Andretti. On what, like a Rampage? So yeah. They all cut work shoot promos that I was okay with for the baby faces, but not for Sammy Guevara. First, let's start off with the obvious. He cut a face promo as a heel. He's loyal to the JAS and has a match later on in the main event with them, but he throws a bit of shade. He says that he was supposed to be Jericho's job guy, which is too on the nose for my liking. Thankfully, it wasn't an actual face turn. But the content isn't like biting enough to compete with Darby, who I'll get to later. It's just a bit too vanilla like what he says. He doesn't bring it, even his counterpunch to MJF. So he's like 4th place in this whole thing. He also got like burned the most. But number 3 is Jungle Boy. He is the true babyface of this feud. He talks about MJF shtick being stale, that he has been given every opportunity to have the spotlight despite not wrestling enough. He also brings up a nice point about MJF never wrestled at Rampage, while putting over Rampage, Elevation, and Dark as well. So finally, a promo that has a bit more bite. And I like how the heels aren't just teaming up. They're all willing to kick each other's asses. The promo is not as intense as the one against Luchasaurus. That is still Jungle Boy's best promo, but this is alright. At least the content is a lot better than Sammy's. So MJF gets number 2, but I'm going to talk about him later. Darby gets number 1. His promo was the most controversial, and he literally tells a story. Like the dude even opens it up with a save your applause until after I speak. It's like he knew he was gonna destroy everyone here, and a lot of people at the back. Because he starts out by telling his life story about how he went to film school, how he dropped out, and all because they wouldn't let him be him. And what a stupid film school that is. You have acclaimed filmmakers, and also some who make lots of money, making the most offensive shit. You literally have Lars von Trier, Nagisa Oshima, and even Martin Scorsese and Stanley Kubrick. But I guess things did work out, since in America dropping out of school is no biggie. Darby's in a world title feud. But most importantly, he emphasizes why they're all here in the first place. Why Kenny, the Bucks, Hangman Page, everyone who started AEW are with the company in the first place and its creative freedom. And then he goes even further by calling out everyone in the back. He specifies who are complaining on Twitter about wanting to be released, but I think he means everyone else. Even the ones who are giving out feelers. Miro, Andrade, to a lesser extent the Bucks, Kenny Omega, FTR, and I guess MJF and Eddie Kingston in kayfabe. Oh yeah, I forgot. Malachi Black, and to a great fucking extent, Bobby Fish. He twists MJF's words and then says there will never be a bidding war for Darby Allin. True ride or die. This one was the full package. This was a nuke that Darby dropped. And it's his best promo, delivery-wise and content-wise. And so number 2 best performer is MJF. Like delivery-wise, he's still the best, but content, he held back a bit to make the others look good. He removes the shades, he removes the hat, and then we see the damage on MJF. Great storytelling. And then he answers back to each of the pillars. To Jungle Boy, it's a basic, I'm the only draw here. It was basically what he said to everyone else. To Darby, he had no answer. He doesn't even try to 1v1 talk to him. But for Sammy, poor Sammy, MJF went mashookin up this bitch and said line of the night. Sammy, in about 7 months, I'm gonna propose to a new girl, Guevara. Sammy tries for the played out, your fiance left you line, but you can't recover from that. Just remove Sammy from the feud, it's over. The common theme that MJF goes for is that he never had a mentor figure. Cody Rhodes, Sean Spears, Tully Blanchard, Chris Jericho for a time. He foreshadows the ending by mentioning the cake. He goes for a thank you, fuck you, bye. But then he gets attacked, gets pushed on his cake, and that's the end of the segment. And just the icing on the cake, no pun intended. MJF is just licking icing off his hand as he's leaving. He should have brought a piece of the cake and ate it as he left. That is the only way that could have made this better. But yeah, no question about it. Segment of the night. There is no way you could top this. Not all of the pillars brought it, but as it is, it's segment of the night. For me, it's up there with the MJF pipe bomb, since this had more substance. That had more delivery, but it didn't play into anything important, and actually did more harm than good to the image of AEW and Tony Khan. So yeah, after this is Chris Jericho accepting an honorary award or something. Like his childhood street is being named after him. It's like one of those community video packages. He's there with JAS and nothing untoward happens. It's okay, it's pretty cool. Good on Jericho. So after this is BCC versus Dark Order in a trios match. So Wheeler, Mox, and Claudio versus Evil Uno, Stu Grayson, and Hangman Page. So this match is the show stealer of the night. It follows the usual structure, with Stu being the whipping boy, but Stu in the end also becomes best performer. The story of the match initially is Dark Order trying to keep their ace in the hole fresh for the whole match, but then when he gets taken out by Wheeler, who is such a pest, dude breaks all the pins, and he takes Page out with a ring bell. He's such a pest, he's such a gnat in this fucking match, just like Danielson back when Michael Cole called him that. The story then shifts to a valiant last stand by Super Smash Bros. Who kill it. They are the best performers. It shows how viable they are for the tag division. Especially Stu Grayson. Tony would be dumb not to bring him in. For me, in my mind, during that match, Tony just has a contract just ready for Stu to sign. They're in a match with Claudio and Hangman and they outperformed all of them. Even if it's just paper appearance, I don't see them losing him anytime soon to any other big company. So yeah, sign exclusive or not, I think they're free to use Stu whenever they want. BCC, on the other hand, wrestle as heels. Claudio, more of the power dude than the technical dude. His best moment is when he just like smashes Stu Grayson in between the ring and the guardrail, followed by a spike pile driver. As for Mox, it's just like a simple, like, clover leaf to STF transition. And then as for Wheeler Yuta, every time he broke a pin, as well as taking out Hangman Page. Like in kayfabe, he was the MVP of the match. He supported the shit out of that team. They would not win if it wasn't for him. As for the top 3 spots of the match, number 3 is the Wombo Combo. It's like a cannonball and a dive by the Super Smash Bros. That happens at the same time. Number 2 is Stu's outside dive, where he teases a turnbuckle attack on Wheeler Yuta, but instead does an outside dive on a weird angle onto whoever that was, I forgot. And then number 1 spot is the Fatality. What an awesome finishing move by Super Smash Bros. And I love that Mox did not kick out of it. Wheeler had to save him, MVP of the match. It's like a gory special springboard cutter move. Very creative stuff. Would love to see the Super Smash Bros. In AEW, even if they don't win the tag championships this year. They can get good matches out of anyone and even win ones themselves. So as for the finish, they fought valiantly, but they get overpowered. Mox hits Stu with a bulldog choke, transition to a rear naked choke, continuing till after the match. Evil Uno, seeing that this happened to him the last time, saves Stu, but then Claudio takes him out. Running European uppercut, and then Uno is taken out. He lands on his head weird, and then he's sent to the hospital with Stu Grayson. So yeah, post-match is Silver and Reynolds run in to save their boys, but BCC run off. They won the match. This is pay-per-view undercard and his match of the night. No botches, no confusion with who's the legal man. Even if people did complain online, I have pics to prove it. That Hangman was not the legal man. So after this is the Juice Robinson promo, and it's very short. It's just Juice cutting the promo in his interesting style. It's very animated, very sports entertainment, but it's just a reminder that this thing is happening. There's no actual progression. He just makes a statement that Ricky Starks responds to much later on in the show, and Starks' reply thankfully progresses the feud, and then ends up burying Bullet Club. And yeah, they're not in a good place, but their American branch is pretty good. This opens up the door to Juice bringing in Kenta, Chris Bay, and Ace Austin, who are honestly more entertaining than the dudes they have in Japan. So yeah, I don't think there's a plan yet. They're just coasting along with this, opening up possibilities, but this is a minor feud. It's gonna end with faction versus faction, and then a 1v1 between Juice and Ricky. So after this is Jade Cargill's open challenge match. So I guess they went this route, and I mentioned this in my predictions, that if they weren't gonna bring in Taya Valkyrie like right away for the match, Jade was gonna squash someone. I thought it was gonna be Lufisto, and then they're gonna have Taya Valkyrie debut after. And so yeah, Jade quickly squashes Nicole Matthews. She's interviewed by Renee, who's also from Canada, so Jade like heals up on Renee, like uncomfortable levels. Like no one has ever done this to her, like ever. Like how dare you? And then she's saved by a debuting Taya Valkyrie. The reactions are just moderate. Like it looks like not many people in this Winnipeg crowd watch Impact or MLW or even NXT when Taya was there, because it's sad. Impact is too good and too awesome to not have as much viewers as like an NXT, like even half. So yeah, even if things are rough in some weeks, Impact has the best women's division in America. They are cinematic based, so if you like mostly promos, mostly like cinematic drama segments, Impact has that. And they also have really good matches. And their champion is a beast. Like wherever that guy goes next, he's going to be a top guy. So you should watch Impact. They're on YouTube. It's a subscription-based service. And yeah, again, watch Impact. Like even without Taya Valkyrie, that women's division is just so good. So yeah, they face-to-face. And of course, when Jade leaves, Sierra Leone tries to attack, but Taya just destroys her. He hits her with her own Jaded. I think Taya calls it something else, but it looks so much better than how Jade does it. So yeah, I know Chris Statlander is the one supposed to beat Jade, but like Taya is the same size. Taya's also thick, and I think it's about time to take that title off of Jade, feud Taya with Chris when she comes back, and then send Jade over to Japan, have her learn there, like, don't have her win every match. Send her to Stardom. I think that's what fits Jade more. Like maybe 6 months to a year there could do wonders for her. But yeah, that TBS title needs to go somewhere else. And I don't think Jade is ready yet for the women's title. So after this is the most controversial segment of the show. And it's QTV. So yeah, this is what Raj Giri of Wrestle Inc. and QT Marshall himself fought over. And I'm leaning towards the side of QT since, like, Raj just makes, like, terrible takes. Like, cringy, bad, terrible takes like how Rocky is pro wrestling. Where you could say that about every movie. Like, Everything Everywhere All at Once is Dom versus Ray. Spoilers, by the way. And not just that, but, like, as a fully grown adult, as a man with a family, who has so many better things to do, he instead chose to engage in a Twitter feud. Like, after QT stopped posting, Raj just kept going on and going on, just like a kid. And then he deleted all of his tweets, including this one about a fan who has some dirt on QT, but it didn't even result in anything. And that's such a low, dirty move. That's why journalists have a bad name. So yeah, as much as I felt sorry for Raj Giri in having to deal with that, like, it's very relatable as someone who overthinks. I just can't, like, support his side. It's a stupid internet feud. But thankfully, no one waved guns and called Mags clips. So yeah, I guess that's the bright side. But yeah, as for QTV, I like the idea. I like the setup. QT Marshall does, like, his role well. But most of the jokes here did not hit. Like Spike TV champion, the Batista thing, the ruthless aggression. Like, someone needs to explain why those jokes are in there. Those did not work at all. Like, MJF and Wardlow's momentum, like, was the best joke out of all of them. And I can see it as foreshadowing to an MJF versus Wardlow feud at Double or Nothing. It's a bit of a stretch, but I'm hoping. The passport joke is okay. But yeah, the rest, not so much. I like that they got the whole setup with the car correctly. The car is white, the right window and door are opened, and this was all good. But maybe it would have been funnier if this was like a reenactment. If Aaron Solo didn't actually steal from Wardlow. Like, they just had some sort of overly dramatic parody reenactment. I think that would have been funnier. And then as for Hobbs, I don't think he fits in with this group. Like, they're all so silly while he's so serious. He should get back cutting promos from the Book of Hobbs. That should be his thing. QTV should have a revolving door of heels as guests. Like, the seat that Hobbs has should be occupied by a different person every time. It just takes away from Hobbs's, like, fear factor and seriousness. And I don't like even more that it looks like there's still connection with Wardlow. Yes, there is an open challenge that's accepted by Ray Fenix, but Hobbs still cuts a promo on Wardlow. And I'm expecting a match either at the Milwaukee show or at the Long Island show. And that's when connections will be severed. Wardlow's gonna destroy QTTV, like the faction, not the actual show. And for the love of God, please set up MJF, who's going to be uber confident after winning the 4-way. Set up him versus Wardlow. Even have him on QTV. Like, legit, he could make that segment, like, segment of the night, anytime. But my biggest criticism is that RJ City, the funniest guy in that room, is just silently sitting, disapproving of everything. If you're gonna have him there, fucking use him. You can even have, like, a face-heel dynamic here. But they all still work together. But yeah, this whole thing is promising. It has Matt Hardy, Isaiah Cassidy, and The Firm vibes. But as of now, just like that feud, it's not there yet. So yeah, after this, like the promo that happens much later in the show, like before the main event, is the Rey Fenix promo where he accepts Hobbs' challenge. And his English is so much better. Like maybe one of these days he's not gonna need Alex Abrantes anymore. And then after this is Orange Cassidy versus Jeff Jarrett. So we have a Shazam sponsored match. Without the corny gimmicks, it's a normal match with sponsors in the ring. And I think this is how far AEW should ever go with sponsors. They shouldn't go Mountain Dew or Cinnamon Toast, Crunch, whatever happens at WrestleMania. Because yeah, this isn't uncommon in Japan. Like in New Japan, in Stardom, and I forgot if it's in No as well, but they have like lots of logos in the ring, just like a boxing match or like an MMA fight. It contributes to like a sports feel, but in AEW that's like so long gone. But yeah, having sponsor logos in the ring would be cool. The match itself is like the usual structure. It's a storyteller. The start is promising. There's a lot of taunting. It's set up that the story is about Orange Cassidy's leg. Like about how Jeff hit it with a guitar and how it still hurt. It's consistently sold on hard landings, but the selling is not as good as the match with Lethal. The best part of this first half is Jarrett going for the fake kicks and getting the reactions. But it then nosedives when they have an adventure around the crowd. Like they totally didn't need this. They didn't need to spend like about 5 minutes. Like about 4 to 5 minutes, just like walking around the crowd. And it's not even stated that the match is false count anywhere. And like it went over my like threshold for ref's discretion. This is too much. Like for this one, why even have Bryce there? Who's been pretty serious recently. Like in the ring before this all happened, Jeff showed that he can still keep up. He can still do the spots. And if Orange could have a match against Lethal that's all selling, he could have one against Jarrett as well. Like Jarrett looked amazing when they weren't outside the ring. Like at the Hall of Fame, he looked like a geriatric, but now like with that hair, it's like he's the old Jeff Jarrett. This could have been really good, but terrible mistake by not keeping it in the ring, where your sponsor stickers are at. And that should be where the audience at home and in the stadium should be the whole time. The first half was ruined, but the second half I think picks up a bit, since this is where we get all of the top spots. So number 3 spot is Jarrett's sharpshooter that Orange counters into one of his own, but it's like terrible looking. But you can also make the case that Orange is selling the leg, that's why he's not able to do a sharpshooter properly. Number 2 is a shin breaker, transition to a figure 4. And then number 1 is Aubrey Edwards, like the redemption. She legit enforces the rules and really has it in for these old dudes like Jericho and Jarrett. Lethal tries to cheat with the Golden Globe as the other 2 guys are being sent off by Aubrey. But Orange kicks out, they have a short exchange, finish is a stroke countered into an orange punch for the win. This is a mixed bag. I don't like the structure. The in-ring work was fine, but there's not much in-ring. They had a stupid pointless journey outside. So yeah, for this one it's TV main event. It wasn't all bad, but kneecapped by all of the mistakes. So after this is a hype up for the main event that's like pretty much nothing, and then the Acclaim's music video. And it's a pretty chill song. I think it's their best. It's something that I would actually listen to IRL. But it's more like just reminding us that they're there. Nothing is progressed. It's not even addressed at their like rivals who are currently Ange and Magic. It's better than their banger with Keith Lee and Swerve, but they could have used this against 2.0. And then speaking of 2.0, who cut a promo against them, like much later on in the show, cut awesome promos that are like sort of tainted by AEW's audio production. But it's basically an invitation for the Acclaim to help 2.0's opponents for Rampage. And those opponents are the Bollywood Boys. But yeah, very animated promo. They're the 2 best in that faction. Yes, even better than Jericho at points. But this feud needs to be intensified a bit more. Maybe on Rampage, we'll see. And so after this is the promo by the Outcasts. And this gets the proper boos except for the awesome line that is neckbeard stinky twats. So yeah, all of the outcasts cut good promos. Soraya's the most intense, Ruby's is the most clever, and then Tony has the overall best. While Soraya is acting as her Rick Ross, she's emphasizing the last words of Tony's sentences. They reiterate their beef with the AEW Women's Division, and I like how they order up the names. They start with the side characters, they move on to Britt, then last is Jamie, emphasizing as her being the top dog. Like she's no longer under Britt Baker's shadow. These were good promos. And then after this, the attack by Britt and Jamie. I think tactically this is the best way you can do it since you're outnumbered. I like how they managed to stand toe-to-toe and almost won, but numbers got to them. Because if they run in right away, the outcasts are unprepared. If they be strategic and like surround the ring, take it slow, outcasts will be able to prepare better. And this would have ended before it started. But yeah, this whole thing is well done. They're helped by the 3 other victims, with Riho leading all of them. And this makes sense since there's this like toxic something with Riho on Twitter. Her music is also the most epic. It's like the most appropriate music you should use for like a save. And yeah, she's the one holding the pipe. They drive the outcasts off. Jamie and Riho are good, but I like how they don't forget that Riho and Britt don't like each other. So yeah, the faces are established, but I don't think this is what the final faction will look like. Like at Double or Nothing, they need to have bigger star power. I think Sky gets taken out, like in some kind of backstage assault, and then I think Riho goes down in a match. Like valiant effort, but then either Tony Storm or Ruby Soho just take her out. And then those two are replaced by Hikaru Shida, of course, and either Nyla Rose or Thunder Rosa, or Jade Cargill, who knows. But yeah, best women's segment maybe since last week. They're building up steam with this one. And so finally for the main event, 3-way trios. For the trios titles, between House of Black, The Elite, and JAS. So this match is 21 minutes and 45 seconds. They take their damn time with this one. And it's like a show stealer, storyteller combination. The match until the end, I think was really good. The end sort of lets it down, and I'm going to tell you why later. So yeah, from the start of the match, this is awesome, even if it's just like Brody King and Sammy Guevara. Just the amount of like internet darling star power in that ring was enough to get a "This is awesome" chant. So the match starts with them just putting over Brody King. Like this dude just manhandled Jericho's children. Starts out with Sammy and then is followed by Garcia. And shit, poor Garcia. He had his ass handed to him the entire match. Like he went to go for the tag in both JAS and Elite sides, and then no one wanted to help him, even his boys. I guess Sammy has an excuse since he was burned so much by MJF, but the rest were just mean. But I like how he like valiantly does his stupid fighting pose and then he gets destroyed. So the story of the match is actually kind of weird because it's Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega trying to have a 1v1 with each other, but they're always interrupted by the champs. Focus was actually given more to Jericho and Kenny, but given what they did, like them fighting, them teaming up, it's about like a good 7 minutes, and it's compelling stuff. We get the usual cutting the ring in half, the keepaways, the high spots, and the show-stealing moves from, I think, everyone. But the most important part of the match, and I think it's also the best aspect about this, is just Jericho and Kenny. They're in Winnipeg, they have to fight each other and then fight with each other in order to defeat this like bigger threat, which is Brody King. It's a preview of the rematch as well as like a preview of the future tag team called the Winnipeggers. So yeah, top spots of the match, some honorable mentions. The code breaker that Kenny sells the best was also sold the best here. The You Can't Escape was cool, Terminator Dive was cool, the Stereo Superplex and Spanish Fly by Jericho's Kids were also cool, but not good enough to make it to top 3. Top 3 are, let's see, number 3 is this like crucifix to a knee by Malachi Black and Buddy Matthews. Number 2 is the Jericho and Kenny superplex. And number 1 is this V-trigger that sets up for said superplex on a Brody King who's on top of the top rope. So yeah, but my problem with this match comes with the finish as well as the booking of Malachi. Because Malachi is the leader of this faction. There is no universe, like he has no right in being the whipping boy for everyone. Because dude gets some shots off, but he's the one getting beaten up by Garcia, by Sammy, by the Bucks, by everyone. That should be Buddy's job. The leader of a faction should not get his ass kicked like this. I think he should be like the smart one, if he's not the power guy. Dude, as the leader of the faction, should be able to believably beat Brody King. And they're not showing me that yet. This is some stupid shit. And if Malachi is gonna stay, he should be booked better. Because yeah, everyone just kicked his ass. He looked like a henchman here. So yeah, as for the finish, the match peaks after the superplex and the codebreaker. And the finish was so messy. Jericho forgets to tag out Garcia, and then Garcia's not in place. A simple fix to this was to, like, since Jericho gets black masked out of the ring, a simple fix would have been to, like, have Garcia be in the corner, tag Jericho as he's on the way out. He comes in, Dante's Inferno, that's it. But instead, Jericho is clearly the legal man. Everyone noticed this. And then Garcia enters the ring without making the tag. He gets Dante Inferno'd, House of Black win. And yeah, they might have been running out of time for what happens after the match, but this ruined the match. This like taints this awesome match. So yeah, before I talk about what happens after this, match is a TV main event pay-per-view undercard. This would have been higher, but what a stupid finish. So yeah, after this, for the post-match, so I had to rewatch this maybe 5 times because initially I thought this was like kind of a rushed move. I thought this was too overbooked. I thought they were cramming in all of this at the same time, but after watching how this unfolded, maybe my only problem is that the Dark Order versus BCC match happens too far away from the main event, and it doesn't make sense that they kept fighting for an hour. So maybe a switch up would have been good there, but the execution of this is janky, but it works. Because with 10 minutes left in the show, we get shown backstage footage of BCC and Dark Order fighting. After the match, they come out of the stage. And initially, I thought this didn't make sense, but after watching it again, there's already chaos in the ring. The Trios champions are there, their opponents are there, hell, even Jake Hager's there, who's probably going to take Sammy Guevara's place. He's going to be their counter to Brody King because it looks like House of Black are going to feud with JAS exclusively. So yeah, I thought why not do this? This was a smart move to build some interest for the next show. They could have used 10 more seconds, but I liked what we got. So yeah, like I said, House of Black are fighting JAS. BCC and Dark Order come fighting in. Hangman Page is left alone in the ring, facing off against BCC, and then the Elite slide in and back him up. Post-show was interesting because Kenny stepped away. He went outside the ring, and then Wheeler came in to attack. Page takes him out, but the Bucks were ready to back him up. I could see this as Kenny going singles and the Hung Bucks coming back. So for me, I think moments are more important than storytelling. No one can beat for beat recall what happens in the Rock versus Austin feud. I don't even think they can recall beat for beat everything that happens in the Bloodline feud. But the moments we remember the most, the moments the casuals remember the most. And this was one of those moments. Storytelling and good matches make up great moments. And this was a fucking moment. Great way to close the show. I like where this is going. But I lament that we're not going to get Kenny versus Buddy 1v1. Or Kenny versus Malachi. But I'm so excited for Kenny versus Claudio, Hangman versus Claudio, Bucks versus Wheeler and Claudio, where the Bucks actually have a chance of winning, and a Mox versus Kenny. This is going to be sick. AEW's back. And with this, if they do it right, I don't think Kenny and the Elite are leaving. So yeah, the Elite are on the rise again, and hopefully they revive Hangman. Holy shit. After that meh title run, this is exactly what he needs. So yeah, this was a great episode of Dynamite. It's not the best of the year. Some segments did not work, like the smaller ones, but they got the big ones okay. There's also not like one match of the year candidate here, but this one had the moments. So yeah, good luck on me for trying to pick one thumbnail for this. So yeah, thank you for watching and bye-bye.